Today we're diving into the delicious world of japchae, the Korean dish that's got everything you want in a single meal. It's sweet, savory, and also filling. To a pot of cold water, add a big handful of Dangmyun or Korean glass noodles. A big handful of Dangmyun makes around a month's supply for a 3-person family, so adjust accordingly. In terms of the noodles, they come dried and we have to soak them in water so they rehydrate. If you don't have enough time, then just use warm water. This will help speed up the soaking process while not actively cooking the noodles. To the same pot, add a decent amount of dried mushrooms. But once again, if you're cooking less than what I'm cooking, adjust accordingly. We're going to eat these dried mushrooms in the end product, so that'll give you a decent idea of the quantity. With that, put aside the pot of Dangmyun and dried mushrooms. Now it is time to prep all the other ingredients for the dish. Since I'm going to use spinach, I'm going to give it a good wash. I'm also going to use this entire bunch since I have a decent amount of Dangmyun soaking. Once again, you would have to adjust accordingly to the amount of noodles you have, or if you like a lot of spinach, put a lot. After you have washed it a couple of times, dry the spinach on a rack. Next up, we're preparing the meat. You can make this easily vegetarian by excluding this part. In terms of the cut of meat, I've only seen this dish use cheap cuts of meat before, but I don't see why you couldn't use a good steak. Anyways, I'm just patting the skirt steak dry so that I can get some of the moisture and blood off. Once you give the meat a good pat down, we're going to cut the skirt steak into inch slices. Remember to cut against the grain so the end product is much more tender. Once the steak is complete, I'm going to cut up a carrot. Cut the carrot into thirds. Now we're going to cut the carrot into matchsticks. Honestly, I found this part the most difficult because I have no idea how to cut the carrot into a matchstick. Something about turning a rounded object into a rectangular object just overwhelms my brain. Probably should go watch a YouTube video, but if you guys know how to do it, feel free to leave a comment below. Once the carrots are cut up, now it's time to cut some Serrano peppers into matchsticks. If you don't like spicy peppers, then use bell peppers instead. I believe people use bell peppers usually in this dish, and we just use Serrano peppers just to give the dish a hint of spice. Once that's completed, cut up 2 onions into similar sized chunks. As you can see, a decent amount of vegetables and toppings go into this dish, so it's just not a dish of empty carbs, but actually a complete meal. I know in the old days, people would just eat japchae and rice and call it a day. Once I cut the onions, they're still sticking together, so I needed to separate mine. I want to make sure that I don't get a mouthful of onions in the end product, as well as have any unseasoned onions. Next up comes the mushrooms. I got your regular white mushrooms, but basically any other mushroom works for this dish. In terms of the size, you just cut them up into bite-sized pieces. Now that we have all the ingredients prepped, we're now going to start working on the actual dish. Remove the spinach from the drying rack back into its metal bowl. To the drying rack, drain the soaking Dangmyun and dried mushrooms. To the same pot that the Dangmyun and dried mushrooms were soaking in, we're now going to make the sauce. On high heat, add 2 cups of water into the pot. Next, add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Then 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, 3 tablespoons of mirin. After that, 5 tablespoons of soy sauce. And a tablespoon of minced garlic. Once added, bring it up to a boil and mix. After it has been boiling for around a minute or so, add your Dangmyun and then do another mix. Next up, add the meat and give the whole pot another stir. While your Dangmyun and meat are cooking through, we're going to start cooking the vegetables that we have prepped. First, let's add the mushrooms into the pot with some oil. Next, add the carrots. Then add your peppers. Once that is done, add your onions. And now that we have all the ingredients added, season it with some salt. Once seasoned, give it a good mix or just toss it. Then let it cook a little bit more. While the vegetables are finishing, add the spinach and mix. It may look a lot, but you know the things with spinach, how it looks like there's too much, but they just wilt into nothing. Once the spinach is thoroughly wilted down, add your vegetables and give it another good mix. Once everything is mixed, try it. This is your chance to season it. Mine just tasted a bit bland, so I added more salt and soy sauce. Once seasoned, finish the dish with some sesame oil to give it that good richness. I forgot to add some black pepper, but yeah, grind in some freshly cracked black pepper. I also finished it with some sesame seeds because I like sesame seeds. Now give the dish a final mix and you're good to go. And that's how you make japchae. This dish may look intimidating at first, but trust me, it's actually quite simple to prepare. Plus, the combination of flavors and textures in the japchae is truly something special. So go ahead and give it a try. And thank you for watching.